Hello everyone, and a warm welcome from Mr. Simplify. Today we are looking at if the rich were always meant to get richer, and if they will keep getting richer, and on the other hand, if the poor were always meant to get poorer in our human society. We all know that we live in a world where most people struggle every single day to make a living. Millions of people die of hunger and hatred in different parts of the world, and the rich keep getting richer and more powerful. To support our beliefs, a 2024 research piece produced by Oxfam International states the following. The world's 5 richest men have more than doubled their fortunes between 2020 and 2024. You know, a pandemic happened in that time period, right? From $405 billion to $869 billion, which is a rate of 14 million per hour, while nearly 5 billion people have been made poorer in that time period. The world will get its first trillionaire in less than a decade, but it'll take about 230 years to bring up people above the poverty line globally, even if we wish to do so, which is a big question mark. 7 out of the top 10 corporations in the world have billionaires as their CEOs, and they are worth more than the combined GDPs of all countries in Africa and Latin America. The report also found that for every $100 of profit made by the 96 major corporations of the world, $82 are paid out to rich shareholders. And also, it would take a woman working full-time in health and social care 1,200 years to earn what a CEO of a Fortune 100 company earns in a year. Now, we all understand that greed is one of the primary factors in play here. Human beings want everything for themselves and only for themselves. They want more than what they will ever need. But was this situation inevitable? Is this the very nature of the society that we have built? Are the rich going to get richer and the poor going to get poorer? In this video, we look into concepts coming out of sociology, network science, and more to understand how this happens, if this is normal, and if we knew that this was going to be the outcome of our human civilization. We will also look into a potential strategy used by successful people to make money. But yes, this isn't a video listing out tips that can make you successful in the next year and so on. There's a lot of content in YouTube milking that topic. We understand here that a lot of rich and powerful were born with privileges. Not necessarily, but there is that situation a lot of the times. And it's not always possible for people to follow the patterns of the rich. And yes, I would highly encourage you to watch this video till the end and contribute to the discussion topic at the end. So with that out of the way, let's look at a social phenomenon that first popularized the idea of the rich getting richer. The Matthew effect. The Matthew effect is a social phenomenon which refers to the fact that people in influential positions or with status usually find it easier to gain more influence, power, and money than people who don't already have status, influence, and money. Essentially, the rich will always get richer and the poor will always get poorer, and that the human society is designed to ensure this. For most individuals, their social or economic success relates directly to their initial levels of popularity, friends, and wealth. People outside of this circle face numerous barriers to becoming wealthy and successful. Now, the phrase comes from a famous biblical verse in the Gospel of Matthew and was quoted by Robert Merton. References to the Gospel of Matthew were also made as far back as 1821 by Percy Shelly. This phenomenon is also called the Peretto Principle or the Matthew effect of accumulated advantage. We can see here that the idea of the rich getting richer has been proposed a long time ago. Now let's look at another social phenomenon which agrees with this line of thought, and that is the conflict theory. The conflict theory was first introduced by sociologist Karl Marx and was further developed by various contributors like Max Weber. It states that the human society, by its design, is a system that is characterized by the power dynamics between the people with power and resources and those without. The theory proposes that resources are limited in this world and that human beings will always operate out of self-interest to accumulate them, and the conflict between the classes is unavoidable. It also suggests that people with power will do all that they can to grow and retain their power, and this automatically results in people without power to get deprived of their basic human rights in many circumstances. It essentially suggests that the divide between the rich and the poor remaining and getting wider is the very essence of the society that we have designed for ourselves. So it's clear that societal structure was designed to ensure that those in power gain more influence and remain in power. Now let's look into the frontier of science to understand if there is some scientific basis to this. Preferential attachment is a topic covered under network science, which is an academic field that covers complex networks like computer networks, biological networks, social networks, etc. So it tries to understand how such complex networks actually work. Preferential attachment implies that in any network, the more connections or links a node already has within the network, the higher is its probability of receiving new links. So in any network, there is an inherent preference for a node with existing links rather than nodes with no links. Since network science is used to study aspects of social capital, social influence, and a number of other network types, preferential attachment automatically supports the idea of the rich getting richer. Now let's look into a concept from economics that also suggests economic inequality and can actually be used by people to drive efficiencies to their lives to some extent. Peretto Principle. Political economist Wilfred Pareto stated in his Manual of Political Economy in 1896 that allocation of wealth follows consistent patterns of inequality across diverse economies. So this applies globally. He noted that 20% of Italian landowners owned 80% of land in that time. This would essentially agree with the rich getting richer, as rich landlords would simply multiply their incomes using just their real estate. But this gave birth to the Peretto Principle, or the Pareto distribution, which states that 80% of effects or benefits are derived from 20% of the causes. So 80% of our results come from 20% of the actions we perform. So if you're an employee, you would have noticed that in a typical working day, you're mostly only very efficient and productive for a limited amount of time. This could be typically when you don't have a backlog of emails, when you aren't getting bombarded by colleague requests, meetings, or social interactions. If you're a student, you would have observed that you tend to sometimes spend hours understanding a concept and at other times understand it within minutes. In a management context, it's usually 20% of your sales force that produces 80% of your productivity. The others often just keep the ship afloat and work towards reducing the burden of the efficient lot. So if you're looking for evidence of the 80-20 rule, it's all around us. Now let's look at a way you could actually use this rule to introduce efficiencies to your own life. The best way to take advantage of the 80-20 rule is to list out tasks and actions needed to accomplish tasks and the value of the outcome of these tasks. From a student perspective, what are the most important topics to cover from an examination point of view? What are the musts and what are the supplementary topics? And also, what are the most difficult to understand concepts? Focus on these when you're feeling the most productive, have the fewest distractions, and aim to get these done before focusing on other topics. There will be other topics which will be checkboxes for sure, which can be ticked right at the end. From a work point of view, it's always best to get the most difficult tasks out of the way first, especially ones which require effort from other people. Doing this will also ensure that you're not working for more than what you need to, just because someone else was late in providing you the required information, for instance. Now, we've covered the Matthew effect, we've looked into preferential attachment, we've looked into the Peretto Principle, so let's move on to our discussion topic. Like I promised at the start, I didn't go down the route of advising you not to buy the car you want or to go on the holiday you want in order to save more money or to try and get richer in the process. This is because sacrificing on your happiness will affect your mental well-being in the immediate term and will not guarantee richness in the longer term. It's important to understand that not everyone will and needs to achieve the billions. It's quite clear that the human society is designed to ensure that there will always be a few very rich people, and these rich people will get richer no matter what the others do. This will not change unless there's a revolution or war causing a fundamental change in the status quo. The rich already make millions from money sitting in their bank account, from land that they've owned from generations, and from other rich people who are also their friends. So it's advisable that people like me and you look at ourselves and prioritize our own lives. What is important for us? Do we actually want to become one of those few? Because the odds are very low. Instead, it's better to follow some advice to make your life a little bit more efficient, like always keeping your eyes and ears out on market trends, looking out for ways to increase your skills, making better use of your productive time, and looking to multiple sources of income to grow your wealth. One should never be complacent and let your life go on cruise control for too long. Get yourself certified, get yourself better jobs, build good connections, invest your time in constructive hobbies, keep yourself fit, and always look for a balanced life. What's your opinion on the current situation and the obvious structural flaws in the human society? Does it affect your mental health, knowing that the rich will always get richer and that you're a small piece in a large puzzle? Do you think it's possible for this way of life to ever change? Will we ever see a more equal and uniform distribution of resources? Let me know in the comment section. And that is all we have for this tutorial. As always, I thank you very much for your attendance. I thank you very much for your love and support to this channel. And please take very good care of your own self. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.